All right, welcome into Off the Leash. The Browns taking on the Baltimore Ravens. It did not end the way that probably most Browns fans would have wanted. They take that loss 41-17. Cleveland now drops to 0-2. Guys, this game was probably, I don't want to say it's as worse as it gets, but it definitely was very close to the bottom of worse.
I mean, this is about what anyone should have expected, right?
Yeah.
We knew the Browns can't score. They're playing one of the better teams in the NFL. You hope the defense keeps you in it. They did for a half. All of a sudden, they were exposed. You lose 41-17. I don't think anyone should be too surprised here.
It's kind of when going back to last week makes that sting even more because you had a game you had that you need. They're going to be few and far between, especially early in the season. This gauntlet of a schedule, keeps on going. But again, very similar game plan, but the turnovers killed you. Today it was on the special teams. Mistakes, a punt return sets up a field goal, a block punt, a touchdown, and then the 2 turnovers turned into 2 more. 24 points off of, I call the block punt a turnover, and the mistakes on and you just can't do it when you're playing the Browns style of football right now.
Yeah, Flacco's big return to Baltimore was quite underwhelming. What did his numbers finish up at, Ashley? We just had him up.
He was 25 of 45, 199 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
Yeah,
and a fumble.
And a fumble.
Yeah,
Can't forget the fumble.
Which was huge. I think at least early on when I was watching the game, too, I mean, he had time. It just looked like no one could get open. And then when guys did get open, like we talked about last week, Jerry Jeudy continues to have drops. They continue to work in the young guys a lot. Obviously, we saw the debut of Quinshon Judkins. They continue to go to Harold Fannin a lot. Dylan Sampson, I feel like we didn't see as much of him. He had the touchdown in the end. That didn't matter at that point. But they kept going to Fannin. They obviously liked him. But, yeah, it's the same problems. It's like defense kept him in early on in the game, but then the receivers, no one does anything.
Yeah.
It was like the defense was worn down. I mean, you had held them to 81 yards. I mean, they were backing up their words on Derrick Henry. He had 5 carries for 5 yards. His first 2 carries were tackled for loss. He finished with 23 yards. And Lamar ran twice for 13 yards. So they didn't hurt you. In fact, you held the Ravens to 45 yards in rushing game, very similar to what you did with the Bengals last week. So it's just eventually those turnovers turn the tide, and then it's like a landslide. The score wasn't that lopsided, but, and Dylan Sampson's got to learn to block or he can't be on the field because they just ran by him and sacked Flacco, and at least when you're in there, they have to know you can block a little bit or they'll know, what's coming. So there's work to be done.
And to be fair, the touchdown that they got, I mean, you look at Sampson's touchdown was all the way at the end when everybody was essentially out. And then the Cedric Tillman touchdown was pretty much just luck at that point.
So lucky.
Marlon Humphrey definitely wants that one back, but that I don't even know if that was the plan.
So
when it came to that touchdown, it should be 41-3 at this point.
Joe Flacco, he threw the pick, which was terrible. And then he threw what should have been the second pick to Hamilton, and we talked about what happened. Okay, 2 years ago when he led the Browns to the playoffs, he made a lot of dumb throws.
Oh, yeah.
Where he would get breaks similar to, it's a dropped interception and now it's a touchdown. The one that was intercepted looked kind of like some of the dumb stuff we saw 2 years ago where he did not get the lucky break and a guy would just drop it inexplicably. But, I mean, they talked about it on the broadcast. He's 40 years old. What are you doing making that throw? Like, what is going on? That's the stuff you would expect from one of the kids.
Can I mention this also, which has nothing to do about the game? But the same time, it was like off by like a minute or two, it seemed like. At the same time that Joe Flacco had his interception, Aaron Rodgers threw an interception as well.
Nice.
How was that interesting? The 2 oldest men in the league, interceptions at the same time. I just want to throw that out. Sorry.
Well, and that's what you're going to get with Joe Flacco, like we saw in 23, and then we got last season with Jameis Winston. Like, you have these guys that can come in and that can sling it and are a lot of fun, but then you also know you're going to get a lot of turnovers as well. Jameis, I think that was a little bit more of a roller coaster than we saw with Flacco, but I think back to that, like,
Lord,
that Denver game.
That
Denver game was, you just felt like you were on a roller coaster the whole entire time.
I think, and just jumping, I mean, I know we have so much stuff to talk about when it comes to this game, but the thing I think that worries me the most is that schedule. Is like they really needed to get that Bengals win. And I know that was last week and we're in this week. But, man, I'm just thinking, like, next week already going into, what was it, Packers
and then Lions.
I mean, Detroit is kind of like, okay, maybe, but St. Brown, 3 touchdowns today. And then you turn around, you have Vikings in London, and then even Pittsburgh, not even just the first 5, just 6 weeks. And I'm just thinking, wow, this team could really go 0-5, 0-6.
Yeah.
Like,
we've seen 0-16, actually. We've seen it all.
We
can do 0-6 standing on our heads.
Me and Leah have not experienced that. So I think it's weird to me. Like, it's wild. Yeah, like, you guys know the pain. I'm over here like, Leah, can you believe this could really happen? We've never seen something like that.
We had back-to-back 1-15, 0-16. We saw 1-31.
I couldn't imagine.
No.
You think about, the Browns just, and when teams are losing, things just go against. They just don't make the plays. Like Ronnie Hickman, I think, made a great play and punched the ball out on Derrick Henry right after the block punt. And there was 4 Browns around there.
And they
Henry,
didn't get it.
the trailing receiver recovered it. They get a touchdown. Then Devin Bush on that goal line. They had him to 4th down. On 3rd down, it went off his hands for an interception in the end zone, and then Jackson threw a touchdown on 4th down. And it's like you got to make those plays. No turnovers just hurts you all the way around, especially when you give up the ball yourself. And so we've now seen they've turned the ball over 5 times and have not taken it away once. So they're down 0-5 already.
And we also don't know what is going on when it comes to Denzel Ward.
That's what I was just going to bring up.
Yeah, we saw Denzel, and then we didn't see him, and then the update was that he was cramping, and we don't know if he's still cramping.
Those must have been the worst cramps in the history of the NFL.
I mean, seriously, it had to be pretty bad. So that's another big thing if Denzel is not playing.
Well,
yeah, and then DeJuan too. They said they were rotating him because of heat. He was coming in and out. But back to the defense. I mean, you could see they were exposed at their lack of depth at corner. I mean, it was clear. What did we just say? Zay Flowers, 7 receptions, 75 yards. I mean, it was just like you had mentioned. The defense was just getting worn down, and now it's the question of like, so where do the Browns go from here? Because like you said, it doesn't get any easier. But it doesn't get any easier. And we see the same issues with guys like Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman. If he didn't have that incredible touchdown, I don't think we would have been talking about anything he did. Isaiah Bond. I mean, it's basically been the young guys.
I hate to sound like a negative Nancy, but I'm going to. We have spent the run-up of the offseason when they didn't get a quarterback and said they're going to be terrible on offense. And then we went through training camp, and we tried to tell ourselves a story where it might not be so bad. I think this is, what do you mean, where do I go from here? This is what we expected for the most part. They can't score. They can stop some people for a while until they just run out of gas because the things fall apart on them. And we're looking at a bad football team, and we're talking about the draft by Halloween. And that sounds awful, and I actually did pick them to win next week. I think that if they're going to steal one, it might be that one. But this is going to get out of hand because it always does, because they can't score, because they can never score, because they never have a quarterback.
The pathway, you can see a silver lining with Quinshon Judkins.
Yep.
That's what they drafted him for.
Yep.
Andrew Berry doesn't want to go out and spend that much. That's the highest asset he spent, and then it obviously got derailed from something he did off field. He practiced one day in pads, and he rushed for 61 yards. Now, you can see, again, you talk about a path. That is their path. Play great defense and run the ball and keep the ball. Then you don't have to be throwing from behind. Where did the score go away? When they got behind and they're trying to throw the ball. Flacco throws the pick. He has the strip sack for a touchdown. There's 14 points right there. That's how the game gets out of hand. So you have to control the clock with running the ball. They ran much better today, and so you would hope a guy on one day practice, he practiced 2 days, but one day in pads, that he's ready to go now to carry the load.
He'll look a lot better.
It's interesting, too, because I find it funny that they acted like we didn't all know that Judkins was going to start and play. Like, well, I don't know. We'll just see how he feels. We'll see how he feels. Dude, we knew he was playing the entire time.
Good.
So why not just get past it, say he's going to play, and we're just going to figure it out. He took most of the snaps, so, like, there was never a thought that he wasn't going to play.
Conditioning was a problem.
Yeah.
And do we feel like, I guess, Fred, this might be a question for you. Do you have an idea of if you think he might get a few games suspension or when that might come down?
I really don't, but the thing I don't quite understand is, they made Mike Hall exempt, and so he couldn't do anything, and he sat out like 4 weeks, and then they said, okay, he's suspended for 5 games, but 4 already counted since you were and so it was really 1 game. So I don't know if missing the first game at anything, that we're going to just let it go, but it's just strange, the timing, that... Let him know, but you might as well play him.
I also think that's, I don't want to say weird, but that's where I don't understand the stuff with the NFL, because if prosecutors are not they're not doing any charges, it's cleared, it's done, then why does the NFL get to come in and give him a suspension, or why does he get to face punishment if he's not being prosecuted?
Because it's the NFL, they can do what they want.
Right,
much ever since Ray Rice.
So that's fine, but that...
But
then that means anybody could come in and lie on anyone, and just because something happens, or like naturally something has to be investigated. If I say Leah has hit me, they have to investigate it, even though she never did. So that means
set the record straight. I never did. Please.
She didn't hit me.
Well,
but I'm just saying stuff like that doesn't, like, I get the Ray Rice thing, but that doesn't then anybody can come on and lie on these men, and then they get suspended.
Yes.
That's not right.
Listen, talk to Ezekiel Elliott. Remember 100 years ago he was suspended? I don't want to relitigate that. But I believe the NFL's own investigator in that one said, yeah, he didn't really do anything. And the commission was like, nope, ban hammer.
And see, and I think that is a scary thing for, especially in this NFL, that is a scary thing for young men or men in general, that can happen. I'm just saying that I think the NFL has to work with that. Like, now, if they did that, and that is, you see that and they're proven, for sure, do whatever you need to do. But if it's not, and it's not there, then I don't see why.
Well, that's what they're
that they can get in trouble for that. I'm just saying. I know we're getting off on a tangent, but anyways, yes, good play from Judkins today.
I want to say something Leah brought up. We talked about it here. The secondary behind Denzel and Newsome, and Newsome's a little shaky, but he's made plays against the Bengals and played well. But after them, too, Ward always has time where he goes down, unfortunately. Mitchell gave up 3 touchdowns today. Every time Lamar threw, 29 was trailing him. And I know that I don't know the call, but I have to think it was his job to be covering. And Miles Harden, had that huge defensive hold. 1st and 20. That's when the defense is going to get the ball back, and you let them off the hook by getting a defensive holding away from the ball. And so I had it as a top priority, get another cornerback, even before Martin Emerson got hurt. They didn't draft any. I thought Travis Hunter was going to be the answer, being a cornerback. They didn't draft him. So you're very, very thin at cornerback, even with Mitchell and Harden. The next one is somebody nobody's even heard of, a guy they picked up on waivers, hasn't even played yet. So, yeah, that's why the pressure's on the defensive line to stop the runs, get to the quarterback and everything.
The thing is that it's always on the defense, too, especially on the D-line. Like, it's like at some point that breaks down. That's not going to last, even if they do that against, say, the Packers or whatever. Some point it's
at some point you
have to have offense.
You got to have that going. And I was talking to Chris and Mark about this earlier of like, okay, so basically if you look and they start 0-5, 0-6, let's just say that, then you put Dylan in, maybe we see Deshaun in a little bit, but maybe, okay, we still stay at the 3 games or lower than that. So Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski are still safe because they're going to give them to next year to figure out, because they'll say, okay, Mark, you were saying because they don't have a quarterback, they're not expected to win or whatever. So I find that a little bit interesting as well, though.
I like the fact it is week 2.
That's what I was just saying.
It's week 2, and we're already talking about coaching change.
Well, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying hypothetically, if that happens, I'm just curious.
It's week 2 and it's come up. That's where we're at.
But I'm just saying that's because I don't think the next 3 weeks. I don't know if they could win. Packers even took care of Colts today. I'm not saying that it's not possible, but I just think it's not. It's
not likely.
It's an uphill battle for them. I'm sure.
And things can get ugly fast. I mean, we've seen it, obviously.
And then we'll be like, it's week 5. Like, remember you said it was only week 2.
Yeah. Well, Kevin Stefanski was already asked after the game, are you going to make a change at quarterback, which we had all talked about. What does Flacco have to do? What has to happen for people to start having that conversation? Of course, week 2, people are already having that conversation. Are you going to start him next week? Are you going to start Dylan Gabriel? And he said, no, that's not something we're thinking about. It'll be Flacco. But at some point, you have the conversation of, well, what does he have to do next week against the Packers, where you're saying, okay, do we see Dylan?
And, of course, with that comes Shador. We're going to hear from Coach just a second. Off the Leash continues. All right, of course, the quarterback situation came up in the postgame with Kevin Stefanski. Let's get to the coach, get his thoughts. It's about what you would think, but let's hear from the Browns head coach.
Very disappointed in that result. We gave him 21 points via a blocked punt, a fumble recovery, and an interception. And it's just hard to win. It's hard to win, period, but it's hard to win when you do that. So we'll own it. We understand the challenges that you run into in an NFL season. And we'll just keep our head down and keep working.
Second question, would you consider a quarterback change? And the one-word answer, no. No great exposition, no long-winded, just no.
Honestly, I respect that more than we're not there yet, or, we got to go and look at the tape, or we're taking a day, but we're not there yet. Ask me in a couple days. I respect the just direct no.
The word no is a sentence.
To be fair, Stefanski is pretty kind of direct, or at least he's always very short-winded.
He's short. He's not direct.
But you're right.
To her point,
he'll give you a quick, I don't know.
He will say things like, I'll have to look at the tape, which leaves the door open. And at that point, we're talking about he would not rule out a quarterback change. No, he already ruled it out.
Remember we went through this with Deshaun. It was every single week. Were you going to make a change? There was not a definite no every week. It wasn't.
Right.
We got to be better.
Last week,
players, coaches, everyone in the building
will
have
be
to be better.
I swear we're hearing that tomorrow.
Last week with the kicker, he said, I'm not there yet, and he was like that Monday, and then we know he stuck with him. So that was a different take. But, the reason Joe Flacco, we know he's not the future, is this first 6 games, the veteran, they didn't want to throw a rookie out against you're playing some of the best defense in the NFL. You don't want them get eaten alive. Maybe Gabriel would perform better than Flacco, and maybe they'll make that change. But I still think their plan is at least look at these first 5-6 games. If you are out of things, then you have nothing to lose at this point. But where do you feel, or where do they feel they're still afloat? 2-4? 1-5?
2-4, they're not making a change, I don't think.
Yeah,
1-5 maybe.
I think their optimum is 3-3. But if you're 2-4, you're still maybe, because we all see, it's like midway through the season or a little after, and they go in the hunt, and the teams are like 4-6, and you're like, you're kidding me, But they are.
You're not out of it.
In the hunt.
Because well, that's off the leash, you're in the hunt.
I like it.
I like the pun. I like off the leash.
But that's the whole thing, is that I don't know what their bar is. They're just really trying to get through, because the schedule does, at least on paper, lighten up after 6 games. Not meaning they're going to win a lot, but if you want to tell to these guys and not give up early in the season, you gotta play better, but you got to have a chance. And I don't know if it's best in their mind feeling that to throw a rookie out there with, the Packers, the Lions, the Vikings, coming up.
Joe Flacco threw 45 times. They had 199 yards
90
passing.
in 2 games he's thrown.
Yeah. It's 45 passes, and you get 199 yards passing in a game, 4.4 per clip. Obviously, that's terrible. People want to know what the kids could do. I don't know if they do any better than that. Who they throwing to? They're not throwing to T.O. and Jerry Rice out there, right? We talked about that too. They don't have any guys. This is where they're at.
Anyone,
they're a team. They're a one-sided team.
Well, that's the thing too, is you can put like today, like I think you can put a lot of responsibility on Flacco. Like last week, the interceptions weren't on him, and so he kind of skirted by. But when he doesn't have any guys to throw to, those picks and like that one pick that he had, and so, that you can put on him, and he certainly could have done better. But it's just, I don't know what the Browns' answer is. Like there were young guys we were excited about. I know Isaiah Bond's new, but like Jamari Thrash, obviously Cedric Tillman, because
those are just guys.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have a wide receiver one. Like your guy is supposed to be Jerry Jeudy. What have you seen from him?
Yeah, I mean today at 4 for 51, and then they got a bunch of guys who are third, fourth, fifth round picks.
And I feel like in most of the games, especially in that first half, you kind of forget he's there. Like, I remember watching the broadcast until they brought up, like, Jerry needs to do something, blah, blah, blah. It was that one catch for
26 yards.
26 yards. And I was like, oh, my gosh. Until they brought that up, I
forgot he was here.
Think about Jerry. No, like, disrespect to Jeudy, but I just sometimes I forget.
That's what I even said in the offseason. If you're not going to draft, bring in a veteran. The DeAndre Hopkins, look at him. He's only out there when they need a play. They throw it deep. He gets 2 touchdowns. He comes down with both balls. Jeudy doesn't find a way to make that big play needed. And you don't really have anybody else that you can look at and say, they're going to make the play when the game's on the line. And I know they're young and they're transitioning, the roster, but you got to have somebody that you can turn to. David Njoku's the closest to that.
Yeah. And you hope you can develop Quinshawn, like we had talked about, to be your number one running back and get some good stuff out of him. But then we also don't know if he's missing any games or not, or what's going to happen there. So you can't put all your eggs in that basket. So what are we doing in the meantime?
It's a whole other thing.
Also, there was a little drama before the game. Schefter had put out a tweet saying that, the Ravens wanted to take Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round. Shedeur was like, nah, I'm good. I'm not trying to play with Lamar. We were talking about that a little bit before the game. Like, was this real? Was this not? And apparently he was asked about it afterwards, and he said, you guys wouldn't believe me. My memory doesn't go back that far. First of all, that's funny. So
Lies.
He said, I don't even remember saying anything like that post-draft.
Told an NFL team to not draft him and claims he doesn't remember it.
He said, all I remember is that I'm here. I go to practice every day. It's a 24-hour rule. It serves no purpose. And then when he was, first asked about that was the second part, but he just said basically his response is, I'm focused on now. I don't really talk about anything in my past, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I kind of was going back and forth like, I don't know if it's true because, I mean, he dropped so low to the point that it's like, well, would he have really told a team that when he wasn't with anyone and he was continuously dropping?
I go back to this.
Yes. I think that's crazy.
When was the last time Adam Schefter was wrong?
And that's the hard part. That's where I go back and forth is I believe Schefter, but maybe I believe him too.
Like he's not, some fly-by-night insider.
Yeah,
right. I'm not saying he's never been wrong, but his hit rate is like 99.9%.
Oh, his word is bond. Like if he says it,
it happened.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I believe it.
Why would you not, if you're Shedeur and that's not true, be like, oh, that's not true. No, that didn't happen.
Well, that's the other thing,
right?
That's
the other thing.
That's a great point. He didn't be like,
right. With him saying but him saying he doesn't remember that far back is really where I'm like, dang, all right, man, I'm trying, but you're right. He should have said that rather than saying, I don't remember that far back. My memory
That's a
doesn't
tough
go back
excuse to rock with that.
Totally
I don't remember.
I'm going to say it. My memory doesn't go that far back.
I just feel like that's what I used as like a kid when my parents would catch me in a lie. And they would be like, Leah, did you do this? And I'm like, I don't remember. I don't know.
I think this
that's how Benny is with you.
Plays into why he dropped in the draft because I do think what I have heard with some of the people I've talked to around the league that he did kind of have an attitude. At first, remember, the talk was being a top 5 pick, and okay, in those top teams, I don't want to go here, and know, and so forth. And a lot of them didn't like that. And if you're, if you're saying things to teams like that, like you said, I'd want to be picked. But as far as you think you could learn from Lamar Jackson, that doesn't seem to be the type of quarterback that they would want there. I mean, it's a different style than Lamar Jackson.
They have a type.
Right.
They usually have a type.
Yeah. And I don't know.
I could also see a scenario, too, is even if he had, dropped to the 5th round, you're like, why would you be in a position to tell teams no? He could have still been talking to other teams at that time, right? Like, his agent could still be telling him, like, hey, the team 1, 2, 3, they're all still interested in you. So maybe he felt like he was in a position to where he could maybe say no to the Ravens. Of course, it's all speculation, but maybe he felt like he was in a position to say no to them because he knew, Browns or whoever else were interested and they may take me. And Browns, maybe I have more of a streamlined path to potentially become their guy. Ravens, I don't.
Browns traded up,
right.
So that might have been why they did, at that point.
Well, and that will still be another mystery if we'll actually see him play. Because at this point, you never know what they're going to even do with Shedeur.
I think
they're
we'll
even
going to
play more
this season.
Or they'll maybe use him as a bargaining chip, right? To get a lot from him. I don't know, out of him, But looking ahead, Browns have to prepare now for the Packers. I was looking. They're opening up
Micah
as
Parsons.
8.5 underdogs already again.
At home.
At home.
8.5 point home dog.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's going to change. If not, maybe go up throughout the week. But that's what I saw. I saw 7.5 and I saw 8.5 underdogs. I'm sure they
with Green
are.
Bay coming off their they played Thursday night, so they get the baby bye.
Yep. And Micah Parsons coming to town. So or Michael Parsons.
Excuse
me. Michael is coming to town. So just really quickly, just looking ahead, I know we chatted about it a little bit, but, looking ahead, I know you said, Fred, something interesting that you were saying that the schedule was lightening up. I do believe that, but right now, I mean, you look at how the Dolphins played today. I know it's a week-to-week league. Totally understand that, but a little bit better play from them. Patriots, not terrible. Jets, playing fairly decent, and then you go back and you play the Ravens.
Well, I was just saying, those first 6 games, those teams were 71-31 last year. 5 went to the playoffs. The weakest was the Bengals, from last year. And so, it turns around, and I expect Mike Vrabel to have the Patriots playing well, the Dolphins, and who knows where this is going to go.
And it's crazy because you have the 49ers, Titans, okay, fine, whatever. Bears playing decent, and then you have the Bills that come here. We all know that's not going to be an easy one as well. So I think it's gonna be pretty interesting. The rest of that way. Of course, that is towards the end of the seasons. You're looking at that before Christmas, and then Steelers after Christmas, and then Bengals that first week of January. Which those games by that point don't really matter, at least for the Browns.
They might if they're trying to get the number 1 pick.
Don't. Well, yeah.
Week 2.
Let me tell you something. They're starting out good for that number 1
are
pick,
in good.
buddy.
Week 2.
They're on a roll right now.
It is more times than not. We were talking draft before Halloween, and this might be lining up to be It's probably lining up to be one of those years.
Any last thoughts, guys?
Well, it doesn't look like they're going to need a new kicker as of now. So there's my positive.
Shout out to Andre.
There's my positive note of the day.
There's the uplifting message.
That's what I'm here for.
At least they didn't lose the game because they missed kicks.
That's what I'm here for. And I also baked a beautiful sourdough sandwich loaf before the game. So that was my
shout
win.
out to Leah. She was climbing on the side of the building today.
And I rappelled down
shout
Brown Stadium
Somebody's
yesterday.
had a
Thank
big
y'all.
weekend.
Thank y'all. Yes. So if anything, we have my sourdough. Maybe I'll bring it next week. Who knows?
Oh, goodness. 41-17 they lose.
Yep,
Gross.
41-17, and we'll do it all over next week.
I think Myles Garrett said it best too. He said it was embarrassing. So
he said S-H-I-T. It's embarrassing.
Something we can't say on here and embarrassing. So
Bleep
I think
is
that
embarrassing.
Sums it up.
And I think, and that's, again, not to go on my tangent, but that's also what makes me wonder, what was the plan that they sold to you?
$40 million a year.
Yeah, but
it's
he's saying
plan.
But he's saying it's not the money. So I want to know, what is the plan that they sold him?
$40 million a year, and you say it's not about the money.
Right.
That's the entire
that's where
plan.
I asked you the question again. What was the plan outside of that money? Because if he's saying it wasn't for the money, then I want to know. Because if this is the plan.
As they said, I think it was in Mad Men, that's what the money is for. There's no plan this year.
Yeah.
There's no quarterback. There's nothing. That's what the money is for.
Yeah,
stick around.
Yes,
that's all.
Because I don't know where it is, but like you said, Ravens take down the Browns 41-17. They got the Packers coming in next weekend. Hopefully, they can find a way to get on the board, get in the winning column.
I think they'll win.
They'll win one of these games.
I think
That's
they
just how
steal
it
one.
goes.
I think this
maybe
is the
they'll
one
get lucky. One of them.
I actually don't give them Packers. I give them Detroit.
Could happen.
They could beat Detroit. I think they can beat Detroit. Because I think Packers are going to want to stay. Well, this is so dumb. I was about to say they're going to want to stay undefeated. which obviously they want to stay undefeated. But I feel like they're a stronger team than the Lions, personally, right now. But we'll see.
We'll see.
All right, guys. Well, that's another episode of Off the Leash. Tell them how they can like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Get it wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate the 5-star reviews. Thank you very much. You can get it here on the website, cleveland19.com. Also, wherever you get your pods, like, subscribe, and it'll show up in your feed. It populates.
Don't let the Browns' record affect our rating. We may be great, even if the Browns
Yeah, you're rating us, not the Browns.
Exactly.
Love that. See y'all later.